Welcome to the Metal Man Cave. This is a podcast that we're just kind of fucking around with, and we're going to talk about the trending news stories. We're going to go through new music. We're going to go through the charts. We're going to dig down into the data. I am joined by the great Anthony Vincent, also known as 10-Second Songs on YouTube, millions and millions of subscribers, bajillions of views. And then we've also got Derek, some black guy. He is one of the funniest people I have ever found on YouTube. He is also one of the brightest people I've ever found on YouTube. Has a lot of great insight and analysis on things, not just in rock and metal, but issues of the world. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Good, brother.
Doing great.
I just got to say, before we start, just want to thank you, Brian, for pointing me in the right direction to up my quality. Because the last time we did this, I was hooked into the built-in camera, which wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't bad, but this is a whole new level in just a week's time, less than a week's time. We did this on Thursday.
You look and sound like $1 million, dude. It's a piece
right.
of cake. Yeah, very good. This is like some TV shit, and that's what we're trying to bring to you. If you want like a little place where you can watch some dudes in their basement talking about metal and rock.
Yeah, for all of you, just to give you something to focus on, just be sure to watch this sweat spot just get bigger throughout the entire show. And pretty soon,
very hot.
Pretty soon, this light gray shirt will be completely dark gray.
Yeah.
It's about 97 degrees here in New York. Even
now,
with
is there any
with
chance
the AC on,
even the shirt could even come off at some point during this episode for the ladies out there?
I don't know about that. I'd have to get. What are we doing here, huh? What is this? Metal Man Cave or?
It's Metal Man Cave, but it's also at the end we do a forum. We do a little male review at the end. It's a very big surprise.
Right.
All right. So let's get into this. Let's talk about first. Let's take a look at the charts. Let's see what's going on in the world of rock music. We're going to specifically be looking at the charts of the top rock songs and mainstream rock airplay. First, we're going to go to mainstream rock airplay. At number 10 this week, the number 10 song on rock radio, we have I Still Burn by Fozzy coming in at number 10. Number 9, we have Nothing More, Tired of Winning off of their upcoming album. Number 8, we've got Afterlife by Good Bros and Five Finger Death Punch. Number 7, we've got Eye of the Storm with Pop Evil. Number 6, we've got Daylight by Shinedown. Number 5, we've got Wild Child by the Black Keys, making moves on the radio. Number 4, we've got Rest in Peace by Dorothy, great artist. Number 3, we've got Patient. Number 9, of course, by Ozzy Osbourne featuring Jeff Beck. Always great to have new music from Ozzy Osbourne. Number 2, we have Giovanni and the Hired Guns with Ramon Ayala.
Like the
is
guy?
that a proper pronunciation?
Yes, that's him. He's the accordion king. He's of Norteño music. He's the accordion king.
Yeah, see, I'm a fucking idiot, and I didn't know that.
I grew up in California, so.
Yeah. So of course. Yeah. So shout out to them. Number 2, they're obviously a very good band if they're doing that well. And at number one, one of my favorite songs to come out this year, it's more of a ballad, which I think there's we don't have enough of. There's Lifetime by 3 Days Grace. Let's move on to the next chart, though, here. We are going to look at the top rock songs of the week. And while I pull that up, what did you guys think of the rock airplay charts?
The rock airplay charts? Well, I saw it before, but now it's not in front of my face. So I don't remember. But I did see we had Ozzy Osbourne was like topping the charts, right?
He was like number 3. And now we have the hot, hard rock songs. This is where things get a little bit more interesting. This is, according to Billboard, for the week of July 23rd. These are your top songs in rock music, according to Billboard here. So at number 10, we have number 1 on rock radio that we just went over, Lifetime by 3 Days Grace. Number 9, we have another one of my favorite songs of the year. We have Zombified by Falling in Reverse. Number 8, we have Patient. Number 9, Ozzy Osbourne, as just discussed. Number 7, we have Sold Out by Hardy. Number 6, Derek, how is this pronounced? Giovanni and the Hired Guns. Their song is Ramon
Ayala. Yes.
Ayala, got it. Perfect. Number 5, Falling in Reverse, Voices in My Head. Ronnie Radke has been all over these charts. Number 4, and I love this song, Strangers by Bring Me the Horizon. If you haven't checked that song out, you should definitely give it a listen. And then number 3, Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle, one of the hottest songs in rock music right now. Yeah, dude. Crazy.
So
was it on Stranger Things or something?
Is number 2 Enter Sandman?
It's Sweet Child of Mine.
What's happening? Wait. Why is this happening?
It's just I think those songs have been consistently on the charts. I think it's such a those are such big hits. Like they're not just it's a pretty big song. They're like some of the biggest songs of all time.
Right. See, that's the thing. I always how timeless are all the songs that are on the list right now? How timeless will they be in the years to come? Do you think any of these songs are a contender to be the next Welcome to the Jungle? Listen, I have to there's nothing against any of the bands on the list, but I haven't heard half, if not 75% of these songs, and it's not because I'm I'm not interested or anything. It's just that I listen to what I listen to. I'm you know what I mean? We all kind of just get used to the music that we grow up on, and we just listen to the same songs on repeat. I've been listening to a lot of Pantera and Metallica lately, just because of all the stuff that's been going on.
Right.
In the mix of some new stuff too, but we're not talking about that yet. How often do you listen to all the new stuff on the radio?
Well, let me just finish this really quick. We have Master of Puppets by Metallica at number 1. So
obvious.
And we all know where that comes from
yes.
Stranger Things.
Right.
But to answer your question, Anthony, it's a great question. Obviously because of my job, I make an effort to really keep up on the new stuff. And I just go on Spotify and they have these little curated playlists of new rock. I also have a lot of shit that gets sent to me through email. So, it's a little bit different for me because I'm obviously fucking forced to pay attention to the stuff to some degree. But generally speaking, I have always I'm obsessed with rock music. Anybody who knows me, that's very true ever since I was a little kid. And I discovered Fred Durst. I was fucked from there. I had the little red New York Yankees hat that barely fit my big head, and it was constricting my blood vessels in my head and all that kind of stuff. And I just wore it all the time. So it was, that for me, that's kind of how I discover stuff. What about you, Derek? Are you into discovering new music, or are you kind of hey, I fucking like what I like, and if it happens to come onto my radar, then I'll listen?
Well, I would say 90% of the time, especially recently, I've switched so much further on to consuming podcasts than music. So I'm always reverting back to the playlist that I curate. But sometimes what I will do is when I'm listening to something specific, I'll let it turn into radio mode on Spotify, and then it'll start just discovering new shit. And that's what I used to do with Pandora back in the day. I used to use Pandora, and I would discover so much new stuff. And it's how I would discover a lot of obscure things. And I'm like, oh, these people are most likely going to blow up. And then it's cool to see if they actually do versus if maybe just people haven't discovered them yet. But you can always tell when something's this is so good that it's going to blow up. And I've been trying actively to keep an ear out more for people that are just getting started, or just anything that seems like that even has. Back in the day, going to Tower Records, you would just see the cover of someone's art and be like, I got to check them out. And so I've been kind of doing that recently too.
Exactly.
That is the thing that sucks, is that the era of physical storefronts, when you could walk in and you could see it and you could handle the product and you could look at the album art, it was so much more impactful than it could ever be inside of an app. And it's
so true.
It's
Years
not.
Ago,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
If we're ever talking over each other, you should just know that we're not actually talking over each other. There's a slight delay that makes it fucking difficult. But yeah, go ahead. Finish your thought, Anthony.
No, you were the one who needs to finish your thought.
All right. Well, you know what? You're right. We're going to end this little standoff here, and we're just going to go ahead and move on because I forgot at this point what I was going to say.
Well, listen, years ago back, the way I used to discover music was I used to go on Napster, or what was it? Audio. There was another one called Audio Galaxy.
Yeah.
I never did that one.
LimeWire and all that stuff.
LimeWire and Kazaa.
That came because that came a little bit later, but I used to find new music, and then if I liked it, I'd go and buy the albums. I'd go find them in the record store.
And even
That's
then,
so
there was
true.
still some level of commitment required because back then you would have like dial-up internet speed. So to download some shit on Napster, you had to like wait at least 30, 45 minutes to an hour. You'd be lucky if you got a 30-minute download.
Oh yeah, 30 minutes. Right.
And that was a big deal. So it still required commitment.
And those were
100%.
the first viral meme and trolls that I ever found. Like when you downloaded Nirvana's cover of Enter Sandman, or I think it was Metallica playing Smells Like Teen Spirit, one or the other. You're like, oh, wow, this is going to be Nirvana playing Enter Sandman. I'll never forget that. And it was a guy named Wesley Willis. And the song was called Suck My Dog's Dick by Wesley Willis. And I was introduced to the world of what he was the first viral meme type of like artist I've ever heard. And I'll never forget. It became a big inside joke between me and my friends, that song.
Do you guys remember? There was a song that it was all over the P2P, and everybody said it was System of a Down covering The Legend of Zelda.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes. See, these were the things I
You would discover a lot.
I believed
So did I.
though,
It
because
sounds like
really
Surge to me, though.
It sounded like it. It really did sound like them. But these are also the things that planted seeds for me to want to do songs in the style of other artists.
Oh, nice.
When I heard
Same.
all that stuff, whenever I saw stuff like that, or even just the titles of like Nirvana playing Enter Sandman or whatever. But
Interesting. That's cool. That's a little cool little nugget of information.
Now, I'm the same way with Spotify, though. I put it on, like, once I find an artist that I like, I'll go to their radio section and just play through all the bands that are related and songs that are related and just find some new stuff. Like, I've been really into Sleep Token lately.
It's a good band.
And I love their sound because it's kind of like modern pop meets modern metal, but it's like there's such... it's good shit. It's not like pop in the sense that you're talking about like trendy stuff. It's poetic. It's deep. Like there's a lot of like layers to it, and a lot of the similar artists are like you have Spirit Box. I've seen the Howard Jones Jared Dines project pop up a couple of times too on there. So that's how I've been finding new music, but I'm very selective with new music. I think when it comes to new metal, I tend to gravitate towards whatever like that newer progressive sound more than any of the stuff that's mainstream or playing on the radio right now.
Okay.
What type of bands would that be?
Like Periphery.
Sure. Love them.
Yeah. Fun fact. The cover that we used, the drums is one of Matt's packs. Like, so I bought his from their latest album, Hail Sagan. I bought his pack because I was like, oh, I love his fucking drum pack. And then he was like, oh, get it on Get Good Drums, bitch. And I was like, oh,
yeah, they
great.
sound good.
And then I just tweak it, and then it's fucking fantastic, man. Technology blows my mind now that you can just do that.
Yeah,
you just do that shit now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what I use. Now you can use it. And I'm like, fuck me in the ass. This is amazing.
And then just the fact is, like, as you guys saw when we first when the show just opened, the idea that we're all in three different places, and multiple different time zones, and we have the ability to basically jam together and do that so easily.
Right.
And, I know. Every week, for those of you that are watching, we will probably, depending on how much people like it and how much people tune in and all that stuff, we'll probably do a new fucking cover every week, and we'll probably do some very crazy shit. At times, we're going to do some very weird songs, and we're going to do some stuff that you're probably going to hate. That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to do some stuff that people are going to fucking hate.
We still have to develop our rapport here. That's what we're doing here. We're just throwing
we're setting
baptized
expectations.
By fire. Right.
That's right.
Hell yeah, dude.
Just figure it out, see how it fucking works, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, we'll just stop fucking doing it. And if
we could do that, or we just can keep saying fuck it and just keep doing
do
it
way
until
too
all
long.
of a sudden it becomes something.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Hey, I like it. I like that attitude. I like that mindset.
So let's get into here let's go through some of this week's trending topics. Every week we're going to talk about, obviously on this channel, some of the top stories, some of the top things that are going on in the rock and metal world, things that you really don't hear anywhere talked about in the mainstream. So we just kind of go back down into the details. We've got 6 stories we're going to talk about today, and it's good to have 2 very smart people with me as well to kind of dive into this. The number one story, of course, for those of you out there who are watching, really the first 2 stories, because they kind of connect into one, involves the new Slipknot song. Slipknot released their new single, and they detailed their new album. Now, for those of you that don't know, this record is going to come out in the end of September. We're going to go to slipknot1.com for all of the details and the release dates and all that kind of stuff. I don't know it directly off the top of my head, but obviously the album is called The End So Far, the new song, the dying song, Time to Sing, and the record comes out September 30th. For those of you that haven't seen the video, go check it out before you watch this analysis. But I'm going to go to you first, Anthony. What did you think of the new Slipknot song?
The thing that I respect about them is that they never repeat themselves. You know, they're always kind of evolving in their own way and doing whatever they want. However, you know, like they think it through. Like they don't just make a cheap, you know, like they're like, you know what I mean, like a cheap attempt to just keep things going or repeat something they did in the past. Like, but at the same time, I hear elements like nothing will ever beat the energy that Iowa has. Like there was a certain, I mean, and you can't, because that also what's captured is like a certain youth that they don't have anymore too. Like, you know, you can't do that. That's like there's so many reasons why that is such a high energy and a high energy recording. You know, their youth, it was their after their breakthrough album. So there was like, they were just like full of energy and all that stuff. But I hear in this recording, I kind of like, this was the first time to me that I felt a little bit of that again. I don't know if did you pick up on that? It kind of did sound a little Iowa-ish to me in the when it first kicked in. Not the whole thing. Obviously, then you know. Corey's range has grown through the years too, so he's singing in more of a, like his singing voice is there's a lot more ability there, and he's singing higher at times, and it's musical, and I like the imagery is always great, and it's always changing, and I'm interested to know what that whole logo at the end is about. That kind of like diamond S.
Looks kind of like hip hop. Looks like something that you know.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like that. So I need that ice.
Yeah.
As far as the actual content of like the lyrical content, I didn't pick up on a lot of the stuff. I got to go back and listen to it again.
Sure, and we're going to go into that in just a second because there is actually an update on the Corey. The number 2 story is going to be that Corey kind of explains the meaning behind the lyrics, so we'll get into that in just a moment. Derek, what is your take on the new Slipknot song?
Well, I kind of piggybacking off of what a little bit of Anthony said. There, when you're talking about the noticeable, you can tell like the energy. You can tell like where somebody is depending on what part of their career they are. Like how long have they been doing the thing? And one thing that I listened to that song, and then I also listened to was Corey's his son Griffin, and I think
Vended.
Sean's. Yeah, so I listened to Vended. I listened to their latest their single, and it reminded me. I was like, there's such raw energy in this, and I was really excited. I liked that, and I said this to myself that is it disrespectful to think that I like the Vended single more than the Slipknot one, only because it was like it could, when you're thinking about like say the levels here, right? This band is Slipknot's still one of my all-time favorite bands.
I think Corey and Clown would be pumped to hear that.
Oh, and that's how I felt. Like I listened to it, I'm like, my initial reaction, like it's solid, it's a good track, but I always do this. Would I put it on a playlist? That's usually my thing. If like a good song versus a great song, I'm like, this one I would kind of just pass over it as far as being on my playlist. So it's a solid song. Slipknot to me has never released a bad song in my opinion. I haven't really heard. I'm trying to think. I'm like, is there a song that I'm like, I just hate this song, and I always skip it every time. And I'm like, I don't think so. Anyway, so it's cool, but I'm looking forward to the rest of the album because I want to hear. They always have every single fucking album has like some insanely memorable. That's like, oh, this is on my playlist for sure. It's like Unsainted for me. I love that song as a timeless Slipknot classic, and I'm looking for that. You know what I mean?
Did you know that the first time you heard it?
Yes.
Unsainted?
When I heard Unsainted, because I actually did a reaction to it in 2019, the first time, and when the thing that stood out to me most was just immediately the chorus kicks in. You know, right? There's the choir doing its thing. The chorus kicks in immediately when I'm hearing the chorus. I'm like, that fucking hook is just
it's a great
infectious.
hook, dude.
Immediately, the riff is very memorable. Where I'm like, I want to play it. The drums is fucking like it's everything's memorable about it, and it's perfect to me. And I was like, this is like a song that, and it's crazy. These dudes are in their 40s. They're in their like late 40s pretty much, and they're still writing hits that this song could have been on Iowa to me, in my opinion. Like it felt like a song that could have been on Iowa. I was like, this is great. So I'm looking for that, and I'm hoping obviously there's going to be something else. I know there's going to be more.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like the last two things they released were like they're cool. They're cool. Like they're fine. Chapel Town and then this one.
Yeah. I think too that this song, the thing that really stood out to me immediately was Jay Weinberg's drumming. When I watched the video, I was like, dude, this guy is very much the real deal. He is pushing himself to the actual limits of what human drumming can do. This isn't computer shit. This is really like he's actually playing this, and that's insane.
A lot of shit out there is computer shit. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, you were just talking about how how you can use the same samples. I mean, this is what people do to produce music.
Right.
I do the same. You know, I do it. Well, you know, I'm barely ever using real drums.
Yeah, to be able to play that, it's going to continue to become to me even more of a novelty. That as time goes on, like wow, I think people playing real instruments as time goes on, it'll be like the steering wheel in a car. It's going to be like, man, I want to control my car. They're like, no, this car, you enter your destination. It can drive better than you, which is probably true. And then you're going to want to be like, well, I want to get my license. In the future, I don't think you're going to have to get a license. I think you're just going to be like, hey,
just kind of
get in this car, go to sleep. And then you like hook up to a gravy hose into your belly button, and they just pump gravy into you while you're riding around.
Yeah, listen, I will say I prefer. Well, it really depends on my mood. Sometimes I really like to listen to old school metal because I like that old school production. And if I put on, I don't know, say Master of Puppets, that album, and I just it brings me back to my childhood, and I can really get lost in the nostalgia of it. And you have like an album like Far Beyond Driven, which still holds its own as far as like it still holds its own as far as like, you know, punch and volume and heaviness with some of these modern recordings. But modern production, though, I think is like on a whole other level of heavy. Like like let's face it, modern production is sick, man. I mean, like I listen to one of my favorite like heavier songs is Spirit Box Holy Roller.
Of course, yeah,
and
absolutely.
That riff when it comes in is like it's like man, that's some heavy shit. The drums, the way that fucking hits, just the mix of things now. Like, you know, part of me is like, you know, I want to hear all metal like that, but at the same time, you know, I like I said, I have different tastes for different things at different days. So, but
yeah.
I think it changes what we expect to hear though now in the modern world, because like even if I wanted to you know, if I want to make something that sounds more old school, I know that it's not going to get as received as well as some of the stuff that's out now, like the production wise.
Right.
You know?
Derek, finish that thought.
I kind of actually want to respond to that. I've always been such a, one thing that I've always wanted, because some of my favorite bands and favorite albums are from the 80s. And my thing, especially I'm a huge punk fan, and my thing that I've always hated about punk is people in the modern day, they would purposefully kind of lower their quality to sound more raw. And my thing is, my ears, especially from the damage I've done to them over the years, I want to hear better production so I can actually hear things better. And for example, some people, the biggest example right now, a lot of people talk about Lorna Shore. And Lorna Shore, their latest production, the guy that they've been working with, I can't remember his name right now, but he's great. But they wanted a specific sound. They wanted a old school potato black metal kind of feel where everything's kind of like drowned. So it's weird. And it's one of those things where I'm like, damn, I love this band, and I love, like, I'm sure you guys may have seen all the reactions to what is it called? To the Hellfire.
Right.
I'm sure, like that. Yeah. And then when I listened to that album, or I listened to that EP, and I really liked the musicianship, I'm like, I can't my shitty ears can't hear very well when I'm listening. I need better production. And one thing that I like about moving forward is almost everybody, myself, I have the capability to make damn near professional sounding stuff. And I love that. And especially when it comes to the programmed drums, I love that as well. But I will say, if musicians were more easily accessible, like, say, a fantastic drummer, I think everybody would choose, like, say, a more raw feel, like, say, an actual drums. Maybe not everything's perfect and stuff because it's a real drummer. I think people would choose that. But it's like, say, how do you like, where are these people? Like, there are some of these drummers around, but damn, there's so few and far between. I'm sure you guys remember growing up, you wanted a fucking badass drummer in your band, and it was like, fuck, where do we find one? Then someone's like, I'll do it. I'll fill in, but I can't do what we want to do. That was me. That was me. I was that guy. I was the drummer in a deathcore band for a few years, and then I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I play the drums. I'm so bad at them that I will say this. I'll move on after this. I just to say that there's tracks that are on the internet right now that have hundreds of thousands of views of drums that I've done, and I want them nuked into existence. I don't even want them to exist, dude.
It's the quality. The progression of quality is never. You always look back on the shit and you're like, it's not as good as it is now. And I get that 100%. But we got to move on and go to number 2, which is really closely linked to number 1 here, which is Corey is explaining in a new interview with Kerrang! The meaning behind the song. Anthony, you kind of alluded to, you wanted to dig into the lyrics, and now we have the opportunity to talk about this new single, The Dying Song, because he addressed the meaning in this new feature with Kerrang! I'm going to put it up on the screen for those of you at home, and we'll kind of read through this together. First, I'm just going to read through it really quick and get your reactions on this as soon as I'm finished reading, and it could take a very long time because I'm not the best at reading. So here we go. He says, I felt like I had a lot to say again, The album feels almost like a reset. I could get away from the shit I've needed to say and get back to the stuff that I want to say. Talks about the dying song, Time to Sing, in which he roars, think hard, you bastards. You're going to tell me why. If I don't get an answer, you're going to sing and die. That's a pretty dope line, by the way. He says, to me, it just seems like all the outrage and none of the punishment. He goes, for the last few, and it's funny, this is a funny little tagline in the Kerrang! Article, as we brace ourselves for a classic Corey Taylor rant, trademark. That's funny. He said, for the last few years, it's been very trendy to be offended and outraged by everything, and yet nothing happens, especially in my country, which is just fucking ridiculous. It's almost like the tables have turned, and the more angry people get, the more people who they're mad at just double down on the shit instead of there being cause and effect or crime and punishment. Now it's just like, fuck you, we don't care. I can't tell if that's a reaction because of the most almost nihilistic isolation of the cultures themselves, where neither side is acknowledging any of the good parts of each other, but they're really just honed in on the shit that they consider inflammatory. And it's almost like people are ringing the doomsday bell. You're sitting there going, well, it's been fun. Everybody pick up your trash when you're leaving, and we'll see you in hell. That's kind of what this song is just like. If we don't figure it out, I'll see you when the meteor hits, basically. The interviewer asks, is it all very hopeless? He says, I think if I was younger, then I would have believe in something like hope. I would have have that kind of optimism, but I've seen waves of this shit for 30 years and I'm just unimpressed. The sad thing is it takes real tragedy to make anything change because we're not a proactive species. We would rather close the door after the house is already on fire. I'm just kind of used to it at this point. And then he finishes by saying, I still obviously support and believe in all of the causes I'm very passionate about, but at the same time, I just realize that people aren't going to change, and I'm done trying to change people. It's a wasted effort, and it takes time away from the people that I actually care about. Until I see real shit, I'm not going to care anymore. It's like, if you motherfuckers want to kill each other, go ahead. I'm just going to stand back and will not be in the line of fire because I'm tired of the idiocy. I can only watch stupid shit for so fucking long. So yeah, it's me basically going, go ahead, just fucking beat the living shit out of each other and see what happens. Derek, what do you think of his assessment of this?
Ooh, man, I can relate with that so heavily, really, because I have waves. I've had waves of like, I need to try to contribute. I need to help in any way possible. I'm talking about back in 2010. I actually used to do YouTube very briefly. And it was more just railing against some like big system type stuff, military industrial complex and a little bit of theocracy and things that I just saw that were like kind of really annoying me. Then I got burnt out. And then kind of the same cycle happened again where I came up, where my community came up in YouTube. We were just kind of trying to push back against some of the wacky stuff, people that were considered to be a little authoritarian and kind of overreaching. And then once that settled down, I was like, cool, whatever. But there was also a machine propped up with that just kept like seeing everything as a problem. And then people that are just here to make money, just making this a mockery. And now I'm completely jaded to where people that I used to consider like colleagues or whatever, just grifters. And I'm like, dude, you guys do whatever you want. You guys just make your money, ruin the world. I don't care anymore. I'm kind of more like, say, so for example, I've done a series called Twitter Trash for 4 or 5 years now. And I
love those videos.
Oh, thank you. No, most of the time I try to do now, I do a piss poor job. I'm trying to keep it apolitical now because I feel like Corey, where he's like, I still care about my causes and stuff, whatever. But overall, he's like, dude, 30 years, he just hasn't seen anything change. And he's right. We're not proactive. We're very resilient in the way that we could just hide trauma and we just like push it away. Something really horrible happens. Like things that happened recently, you know, and then no one's, it's not in the forefront anymore after like a week or something. We're designed to do that though. So it's like, what do you do? So I totally get it, man. It sounds very nihilistic, but you know, what are you going to do, man?
Anthony, what do you think?
I have so many feelings about this, but I don't even know how to put them into words. I think it's just something that a lot more people that are willing to admit are feeling the exact same thing. And I don't know if I really have anything to contribute to what he said because he laid it all out. I've seen so many different things happen, tragedies and stuff like that used to be more few and far between many years ago, and now they happen more often and they're sensationalized, and you wonder why certain stories are propped up in the media while others aren't, and you question the timing of everything and why certain things are brought up. And, you know, I think the media is a lot to blame too for a lot of the outrage that goes nowhere as well. And, you know, I look at it and I'm like, you know, the problem is I just lost my train of thought. So
it's okay. It's okay to lose your train of thought because I'll give you my thoughts on this.
I think that's age, bro. I do it all the time.
That's exactly
it happens.
What I feel about all of this.
So I think that
most people can't articulate.
Right.
Right.
I think with what Corey has said about this, though, is that he's kind of a reflection, I think, of what most people think. I think that probably 90% of people will agree with what he's saying in some form or another, because I think social media incentivizes people to, back in the day, like when you went to the grocery store and you came home and that was about it, like you didn't even really have to think about any of the stuff that's going on in the world outside of your own little personal area. But now I think it really weighs on people and depresses them and fucking scares the fuck out of them that social media allows them to be aware of every travesty that not just happens here in the U.S., but around the world.
And then you feel pressure, and then you feel the pressure to have to jump on something that I'm sorry, but the kind of person I am, I can't jump on a cause if I don't know anything about it. If I know deep down inside I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is that I'm agreeing or disagreeing with, then I should probably stay out of it. That's the issue.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I personally also am not going to I'm not going to be made to like, I've always tried to, at least especially with this channel, I don't push anything on anybody that I feel. And the other thing is like the stuff that you got to understand, it's me drinking beer and scrolling online. That's my worldview, is me fucking drinking beer, looking at shit and going, oh, fuck, this happened. So the idea that everybody has to be an expert on everything in fucking politics to me is, I like talking about business.
Well, to go back to what he was saying about how, like, nothing changes. I've always thought about this too. How, depending on what we're talking about, how does anything really change? I mean, how much of this is already a part of a script and completely out of our control? I think most of everything that isn't directly in our own lives, and even that, most of that is out of our control. We have control of very specific things: how we treat other people, how we treat ourselves, and very few things out of that realm is we can really affect in any other, like, what we can't make certain things, like they say, like, obviously strength in numbers, and you can band together and do what, like, violent revolution. That's the thing. Like,
what's the solution to?
What is the solution? A real solution, but the thing is, it's hard to get there because of it'll take like a generation, which is, it all starts with better education. The people on average need to be better educated. People need to be smart on average, because you can't take advantage of smart people. This is the unfortunate thing. Most people on average are just living their lives. They're not really paying attention. They're voting for people that don't have their best interests. These people, rich people, are always voting for their own interests, and then they use the will of the people. See, and that's the thing. And so, how do you break out of that? Exactly. So that's the whole problem.
With this education, where is that education coming from?
So it's just like,
is that attached to an agenda in
right.
itself?
No, right.
I feel like I should have graduated from school in 5th grade. I feel like once I was in 5th grade, like after that, I can't really tell you too much of what I learned.
There's not much
I never learned.
Need past,
I spent a lot of time as a teenager learning how to trade stocks, and that was way more valuable. Learning how to
I wish
invest.
I learned stuff like that. I wish I learned how to manage businesses and all that stuff. Like,
and it's the logical thing to learn, and you don't learn it for a specific reason. You don't learn how to do taxes. You don't learn how to prepare yourself.
Why is that not in school? Why the fuck is that not
specifically? Because like the late great George Carlin, he always says, they just want
critical thinkers.
Oh yeah, they want obedient workers. Workers, and it's real shit, because if people were to, like I said, you can't scam, there's people that run scamming organizations. You can't scam a smart person. You can't fish a smart person out of their information and their bank account and all that shit like that. And so if people were able to think critically enough to really take care of themselves and think about who they're voting for, right? They think about that. Like the people in the South, the most rural areas with like the grittiest people, voting for people that are going to those New England type schools. They're going to the Yales. They're going to all this shit, right? Yeah. They have no connection. And it's like, why would you ever do that? Why would you think this guy has my best interest when you have no connection?
Well,
but that's just the cycle that we're in.
And we can go back into the whole we can go back to like a long time ago in the country with like JFK and stuff, and they won't even release all the files related to that. So it's like anybody who's looking at like the state of the and takes things as face value. Oh yeah, I mean everything's normal. Yes, I know they don't want to tell you anything that happened. Blah 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 blah. But let's just pretend like everything's normal. To me, it's like okay, it's a little crazy to think that I can post something on my fucking Facebook and people are going to, it's going to change the world somehow. It's like, I think people, I do feel this. I feel like people really overvalue themselves. I think that people really have a higher dose of self-importance than they should. And typically what a lot of the stuff is I see when people go online, it's to say, I am going to send a message to the people that are looking at my content that I am a good person. Mm-hmm. That's typically, I want you to know I'm one of the good guys. And really it's like, to me, I don't give a fuck about what you put on Twitter. Like, I give a fuck about what your actions are, what you actually
don't talk
do.
about it, be about it. Like, just fucking do something.
You know, it's so for me, and it's like, and also at the end of the day, it's like I really just try not to care about that kind of stuff. I would much rather be outside.
Yeah, you don't need to, man.
I would much rather be watering my grass. And
take care of you and your family. Take care of the basic of like take care of your own tribe first, because that is the most basic thing you can do. And one thing I feel like is the biggest stupid bullshit that has come recently is that, everybody should be active in everything, where it's like, no, there's people that are doctors. Do I need to be a doctor? Do I need to learn how to fucking perform surgery or some bullshit? No, it's not my field. There's people that want to, I even say politics. Yeah, have a general understanding of what's happening. But there's people who want to actively be into politics. Let them do it. Hopefully good people get into it, but that's a story for another day. But I'm just saying, you don't have to fucking feel bullied for not knowing, say, for example, you don't know who your senators are. You don't have to have someone jump down your fucking throat and be like, what's wrong with you? It's like, dude, I'm doing my own thing, man. Like, there's other people, there's enough people that really care about this stuff. And I'm hoping that they're good people and they're going to, that's what they're hoping for. The representatives are good. Unfortunately, it's a little iffy. Right, but that's the whole reason.
I mean, it's almost never the case. It's almost never the case. I mean, we've been getting. It's almost never the case. To get to that level in politics,
we just would
have to be
idealism is what I'm just talking about, which is kind of stupid. Right? I know, I get it. I get like idealistic points of view of what a representative's supposed to be and blah blah blah. And look, Corey's a very brilliant person to the point where, unless I would say probably 80% of his songs I don't even know what the hell he's talking about. He's a very brilliant guy because he's just
like, slit your throat and fuck the
world. Shit. Shit.
That's in the 20%. That's the 20%. I get it. I get.
See, how angry you gotta be to just repeat that? Yeah,
that's a hook right there. I mean, come on, you can't.
That song. That is how you start off a fucking album, bro. That is how you.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I was just about to go into
the
my
blast
freshman year of high
beats and all
school.
of them screaming and shit. Like that shit.
I was just about
my
to
head
go into
almost
my
exploded.
freshman year of high school, and I heard that track, and I was like, whoa, they got heavier because I was getting into heavier stuff at that time. I was already getting into like Cannibal Corpse and Suffocation was another death metal band that I was really getting into. I was getting into a lot of heavy stuff, and then I heard that, and I'm like, oh man, this. Because their first album was like, well, not Mate Feed Kill Repeat. You ever hear Mate Feed Kill Repeat?
Yes,
that was their album before their first album, which was like that was a ride because that went all different genres at times.
That bitch slap, dude.
But that first self-titled album or whatever was like pretty new metal, like pretty like not like not a lot of like metal or blast beats or death metal or anything like that. And then this came out and you just hear like right off the bat, it's just like fucking blast beats and shit. I'm like,
I don't think there was any blast beats in the self-titled.
No,
I'm trying to think of it. I think there's zero
because it was all very like new metal.
Yeah, and then it fucking just goes immediately into blasting in Iowa, which is.
But it was great because it was a mix. It was a mix.
It was awesome.
It was a mix of both.
It was. It absolutely was.
Which made it so primal and like just
yeah. Well, so we got to move on.
What you got?
Here,
what you got?
And
what you got for us?
Up next, let's talk about this. And this is how this all came together for us. I just called them up and was like, "Hey, come on and talk about this Pantera shit." And then we heard several comments from people that were like, "You guys seem to really just talk shit together very well." And so we're like, okay, well, let's try this again. And this is what you're watching now. So this goes to the Pantera tour, and it involves Zakk Wylde, who has given an exclusive interview about this upcoming tour to my friends over at Danny Wimmer Presents. And he spoke to them exclusively during incarceration. Looked like a great fucking time. Here is Zakk Wylde's specific reaction about this Pantera tour. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you guys to check this out. And then we'll talk about it.
Sweet.
Here it is.
And you know how I feel about St. Dime and St. Vin.
Oh, yeah.
And when everybody has been asking, me and all of us, like how we feel, especially I'm a glowing love fucking globe for that band.
Yes.
Charlie and Zach being right here, family. There's not one other fucking band, one other dude out there that wrote a song And every time DLS plays, In This River is fucking played, and St. Dime comes on the screen like that, dude. Like, that's family. So when when people are looking at, well, who's going to do this tribute to them, it's like the dude, like the family, the closest. Dime played 5 guitar solos on 5 Anthrax songs, different ones. And the fact that, Charlie Dime was the 6th member of Anthrax.
When Vinny was still alive, it was just, when the fellas were all talking about doing it. I just always told them, I said, guys, of course I would, if you asked me, why would I not do it? It's just like, I'm going to honor Dime. So it's just like, it'd be like Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell asking Eric Clapton if he would go out and honor Jimmy, and Eric playing Jimmy's stuff and singing Jimmy's songs, and they're going out as the Jimi Hendrix celebration, and then he's going to honor his buddy and he's going to play his song. So I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing. So like when we do the Dime Bashes, when Zach Savage has played at the Dime Bash, I mean, the Dime Bash
is a part of all those.
It's a celebration of Dime's greatness.
Always.
So, and I mean, I think it's a Pantera celebration. So that's what it is.
And I love that it's time too, and it's going to be great to see Rex too with you guys again, and Phil with you and Charlie. I love it. I just, as soon as I saw it, I went, these are the right guys, right? I'm saying we were talking about it.
We've been talking about it all weekend. So, Zach, I mean, how about, are you learning stuff right now? Are you going through all? I know you are.
Of course. I know.
Is there a certain set list? Is there songs that you're easily going through? Are there some that you're struggling with a little bit more?
Well, you gotta sit and just like playing St. Rhodes' stuff, or Jake's stuff, or any of the guys. I mean, you gotta. Or when I'm involved with the Experienced Hendrix thing, you learn the songs. You know what I mean? And then so it's just like even with Generation X.
This has been so highly anticipated. You have on the on Zach Wild's YouTube channel 10 years ago, he released a YouTube video on his cell phone where he's like, "Yeah, I know people keep asking me, would I do this? Yes, I would do this." And so, I think that at times it's kind of gone, and then eventually they kind of got to the point where. I think they saw the talk of everybody wanting to. I think after Chester Bennington passed, they did such a wonderful job. Linkin Park did doing those shows where they brought in all these people, and it was very well received. And people, it was a really special night. And I think so. That was number one. And then when Eddie Van Halen passed away, there was all this immediate conversation about like, hey, when are you going to do tribute shows? We want to see tribute shows. Bring people out and have them pay tribute. Which, see, I think that is not something we've seen a lot of in the past. But when I hear that, it's an intriguing concept to me. It's intriguing in that when a person passes away, and we've seen so much of this, when they die as a musician, you really don't. That's the end of seeing the songs being played, but that's not the end of songs being played in your stereo. Why does it have to be that way with live, especially when it's like, if you're a fan of a band, you really care about the musicians. This is a celebratory thing. And so these people are dead, and they've lost their lives in very sad ways, and it's very sad, and it's a way for fans to come together and honor the music that they loved, and maybe pay tribute to the musicians.
Well, that's what I thought.
Hell yeah.
From the beginning, I didn't see this as a reunion ever. I just that was never anytime when I gave my opinion about this, I was thinking about it with the word reunion in my mind. I may not have said it out loud, but that's really, I don't see this as actually my chance to see Pantera live. I mean, it's a chance to celebrate Pantera, in a big stage. There's going to be a lot of people, and that's cool, because any other time that Phil has gone and sang Pantera songs, they were all in smaller venues with his band. So there you go.
Derek, what do you think?
Yeah, it is actually kind of interesting to call it a reunion when 50% of the members are gone. So it is kind of like a thing. It is a little interesting to call it that, but what they're doing, it's like, well, this is what we're going to be. This will be Pantera for the time being when we play shows. So I understand calling it like, well, yeah, the two surviving members are getting together, so technically it is a reunion. I'm still excited and everything. And also, if it were just dime fest type stuff. If it was still just revolving members or people, I love that. One thing that it just made me jog my memory is when Mitch Lucker died, and they did the tribute show for him for Suicide Silence and had a bunch of people.
Great example.
Randy Blythe, freaking Chad from Mudvayne. People you didn't even expect to showed up. And one of the coolest things about that, because it was recorded, right? And you can just watch it all on YouTube. Some of the performances were so like just energy filled, and people were like, "Wow, they did this so perfect." Like Phil Bozeman of Whitechapel, he did such a great cover, and people were like,
"Great vocalist."
I need this. This is what I want in metal more, like more features. And it was really cool. It was really cool to see that celebration. And I would fucking love that. So I would be so happy with that. Actually, technically, when I think about it, more musicians doing that than it just being, because Zakk Wylde's dope. Don't get me wrong. No disrespect. It's just more like get a fat stack of guitarists and like they just interchange.
Yeah,
exactly. It would be amazing.
That's what I was
thinking. It would be amazing. Either way, though.
I feel that way too about the concept of anniversary tours. Sometimes, look, guys, I appreciate the new music and stuff like that, but there's just sometimes where I just wish bands would really do like, okay, we're playing this album front to back, we're playing this album front to back, and I hope that is also something we see more of because, I don't know. And the other thing that is interesting to me about these sets is how long are these sets going to be, and are they going to play the same songs at every show? Or could we see possibly a scenario where maybe we would have multiple nights, an evening with type thing? I don't know. I just would like to see them really dig into these songs, even if they have to fucking just roll through some of them in a melody, like or in a medley rather. I think it would be. I think that would be very cool to see. But I got to move on, and because we've already been rolling for 52 minutes. This fucking time is just flying by, dudes.
Yeah, it is.
So we're gonna go a little bit over this week, and I'm gonna tweak it and make it a little more smooth. So the Cult singer Ian Asbury sees a fucking fight going down, and he was not happy about it, and he jumped down and broke it up. We've got video for you of this. Just some notes. This, according to Blabbermouth, it says he jumped in the crowd. So he didn't just yell about it from the stage. He was so fucking pissed. He jumped down. Dude, he went down there and just started power bombing people. Amazing. It's crazy. And then there's a couple tables, and then Jim Ross shows up out of nowhere. This is crazy.
By God.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Oh, by God.
A big brawl. A big heavy metal brawl.
So let's see if I can get to the part. All right. So, yeah, I mean, he just jumped off stage, and he's like, man, he's not having this. So let's pull this up on the screen. This is taken from Creative Underground on YouTube. So here we go. Pull this up and look at what went down. And we're going to take y'all's reactions after this. And then we're going to see what would you do in this situation.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Let me back it up a little bit.
I would have taken that tambourine.
Oh, he's got the tambourine in his hand.
And I would have wrung their necks.
Oh, he said, hey, motherfucker.
Hey, you stop
it
that
off
right now.
He didn't even
hesitate. Yeah. He said,
didn't even hesitate. He immediately just...
Oh, that
he's
jumped.
giving him the face?
Oh, he's hugging him.
Oh, okay.
And he said,
no, it looks like Davey Havoc. Wait, Davey Havoc doesn't look like that anymore. Never mind.
This dude loves him. It's like...
He doesn't look like that anymore. Never mind. I'm thinking like mid-2000s Davey Havoc.
Yeah, this is...
Okay.
All right, so, I mean, now is that a... Oh, that's somebody else, like somebody who works for the band. So, I'm really kind of... Let me go back to this a little bit. So he jumps down. He sees people fighting in the crowd.
Stop it.
And then really it just turns in... And then the guy starts choking him. What's that about?
Is it a choke? But look at his face, though. He looks like
he's completely
blissful.
out of it. He's
wow.
He's probably gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Not the move I would
on,
make.
But he's gone, and he's like he loves him, like
Yeah,
right.
I don't know, fucking.
I mean, Ian jumped down there, and he just got into it. Went from a fight to a love fest.
Yeah,
it went to it looks like they've known each other for a very long time in that shot right there. That little pause.
Things really heating up. Oh, that's great. I got to put more stupid shit in there like this. This is great.
Dude.
Let me ask you this before we go to the last story. What should we play next week? What should we give people a tease of? What do we want to do? Have we talked about this a little bit?
What, like a cover?
Yeah, cover
You
wise.
guys, you let me know, and I'm down.
What do you think, Derek?
I mean, I like the idea of doing. Listen, man, I'm down for '90s pop and R&B all day, every day. '90s hip hop.
Yeah, I want to do some country. I want to do some hip hop. I want to do. Yeah. We talked about doing even earlier today. We talked about doing "Slob on My Knob" by 3-6 Mafia. Really anything could go. I mean, what do you think,
to me,
Derek? What do you
it's
want
just
to do?
if the melody's right. If it's to me, because this is the way that I do covers. For example,
feeling's right, then we're down.
Exactly. Like if it feels. Direct covers are easy because it's like, all right, I just need to learn how to play the song. But if it's something like, say, for example, pop or hip hop or whatever, and I need to make an instrumental, if it doesn't, like, I'm talking about within the first 20 seconds, if it doesn't make sense in my head, then I'm like, I don't want to fucking do it. But so
I think
you briefly mentioned, Anthony, you mentioned I Want It That Way. For example, that I have a riff already in my head that plays. I've been thinking about doing that for a while. I'm like, I could slap that down.
Go ahead.
I could fucking arrange that shit over the weekend or something. So
love that.
Stuff like that, man. I love. I've been thinking about making All My Exes Live in Texas by George Strait. I don't know if you guys know that song, but it's a classic country song that I was like, I gotta make this metal somehow. And it's a classic song, especially if you ever people that listen to this, if you played GTA San Andreas, you've tuned to K Rose, and it's like the country station, and that was like one of the classic songs that everybody kind of was like, people that always said I don't like country, but then they're like, that fucking song, man, that song's just that's
how you know
sense.
You have a good song.
Right. It's so that's a good one. What are you looking for, Brian? What are you doing?
I am looking for now the final story, which we're going to jump to here to make sure that we are within the time. We have Phil Labonte. Phil Labonte of All That Remains. Great band, great performer. He is calling out. He's calling him out. He's calling out Tom Morello over a wah pedal that has a Vladimir Lenin quote on it. And let's pull this up here. According to Loudwire, who has published an article about this, check them out at loudwire.com. So they have an article that says, All That Remains frontman Phil Labonte has slammed Rage Against the Machine guitarist Tom Morello over this Jim Dunlop pedal. This week marked the 104th anniversary of the execution of the Romanov family, which had ruled Russia for 3 centuries. They were murdered by the Bolsheviks, who were led by Lenin and his communist regime. So these are communists. Labonte quoted a post regarding the historical event and wrote, communists are ontologically evil. It's a very big word. And then he goes, Jim Dunlop sells a Tom Morello wah pedal with the Lenin quote on it. It says, sometimes history needs a push. The murder of his family was one of those pushes. Wonder how much money Morello makes off the capitalist expropriation of workers in third world countries that manufacture this pedal. Very interesting stuff going on there.
A lot of my feeling about this stuff is that I have always been really bothered with the way the world is going and how people are, how like people's difference of opinions create so much tension that relationships are torn apart. And a lot of that happens through social media, and it's centered around politics. They think it's around politics, but it's really not, because very few people really even know how this shit works. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
it's so complicated.
I choose not to get into these conversations because I don't do the research. I didn't do the research years ago. I have not done the research.
I think Phil's a smart guy, though. So I mean,
he clearly has some. He's done some research. He knows what he means. Like, he knows what he's talking about.
He understands.
Like,
what he's talking about.
Like, he's not just going to go say something that he just made up. He read this someplace. In the time that he's looked up information, and it's true to him, even if people on the other side will tell him that he's reading some misinformation or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
So, and that's the thing too. Where the hell do you find information? I went through that phase where it's like, you know what, this world is going to shit. I wanna really educate myself on what's going on, and where the hell do you go? Like, where do you go, like, to find true information? And
I go to the bar. I go to the local bar.
That's
Bars
exactly
also
where you
has
should go.
I ask people at
You
random.
need to go to local bars and coffee shops where you have some like old guys talking at the table about politics, and then just repeat what you heard from them without any research.
Exactly.
That's
And
what I do.
I go to 4chan. I go to 4chan.
Oh, that's a good. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. 4chan.
And so, like, I'm gonna read the next thing that I see, and then I'm gonna talk to Phil specifically. I'm gonna be like, hey man, I just heard this on 4chan, and apparently, I don't know, everything that Tom is advocating is awesome, and you're wrong. I don't know. I just read that, and see what he has to say.
That's my feel. I think about that a lot. Like, that's just like when I think about Rage Against the Machine, that's the thing that pops in my head. Is that the first thing that pops in my head is overpriced tickets. That's the first thing that pops in my head. And I'm not trying to be a smartass. It's just what the image that
it's
overpriced
so hard.
tickets.
It's
Tom
so
Morello
hard to
master
ignore.
Master classes.
But I just
He's a
wonder.
great-
money.
He's a
money.
great businessman.
But see,
He's
the thing
so
is,
good at
I
it.
want to know. But see, here's the thing: I want to know because there's a lot of people that, for example, and there's a guy that I'm sure a lot of you both have probably heard of. His name's Hassan Piker. He's a huge Twitch streamer. He used to be on the Young Turks and everything, so very left leaning, very progressive. And everything that I would hear about him would be through sound little clips of him saying something really wacky or getting really angry. And I thought this guy was just totally off the hinges. But then I've caught some of his conversations, like long form conversations. And a lot of people just think that because he's rich from Twitch. And like, how could you think this stuff and also be rich? He explains very thoroughly that his take on things, he's not even saying he's some communist. He's like, my take on things, for example, is that there should be caps at the highest levels. Not just for millionaires. That's his take. So I wonder, like, what is Tom Morello's take? For before I just fling shit at him.
Tom Morello would probably hear this exact conversation and be like, you know what? That's my take.
That's what I want. But see, that's what I'm curious. What does Tom and Zach and everybody else, what do they believe specifically? Because I imagine Zach Del Roca probably, and maybe I'm just misremembering, but like say Che Guevara is a very, like, a lot of people look up to Che, which is people that, you know, it's like communist Cuba and rebellions and all this stuff. And there's a lot of revolution type shit that, like, I don't understand fully. But there's people that say, right. But there's people that just say things that, like, this is bad to represent X, Y, and Z. And so I always just want to go to the source. So Phil, like, I love Phil. I consider him a friend, not the closest friend. I wish we were closer, you know. I wish we went on dates and everything, you know, like, call me sometime, Phil. But, but I would love to, and fucking Tom would never in a million years. How the hell would I have to get on a private jet and then I can finally hang out with Tom and maybe have a conversation with him or some shit. I don't know how I would get to talk to him, but I would love to pick his brain and see what the fuck he actually believes.
And Derek, you make a great point about this. I want to say that typically we do kind of compress people down to the most simplistic way, and people are a lot more reasonable than we give them credit for. And I do think that it does show that he's a good person when he can look at someone like Ted Nugent, who, I mean, they could not be further apart. And he's like, yeah, he's fucking crazy, but that's my boy.
You seen John Dolmayan's Instagram, for example? Have you seen what, like, John?
Yeah. I mean, I follow his Instagram.
Right. So you see, like, and how different he is from Surge, for example. Their politics are very different, right? And but they play in the band together. Obviously, they're able to coexist.
Much respect.
Like, awesome. We need more.
They're in-laws too. They're actually in-laws, and it's
I didn't know that.
I think that people, most people that you talk to, and most people that you know, especially when it's like not through messaging or some impersonal way, I think people just need to have conversations with, you know, you'll never get somebody to change or to anything by going, hey, you're a fucking piece of shit. you're a piece of shit, you know. But anyways, I mean, I don't want to stay on this too long because I'm a little stupid with this kind of shit. But we've already gone over an hour.
Yeah.
And so this has been fantastic. We're going to make some tweaks, so bear with us. I mean, we're really going to get this down to we're going to improve it every single week. We're going to strive to do that. Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's a different kind of medium for me, because I'm just not used to talking in this way, like this, like, you know, we're right now I'm trying to get a feel, because like we're talking about rock news, metal news, which I realized very quickly that outside of bands like Pantera and Metallica, I don't really know a lot of shit, like, you know, or Slipknot. I don't really know a lot of the new stuff that's out, and like I feel like, what do I talk about? Do I talk about like production stuff, and then that kind of like muddies topics and stuff like that? Now we're talking about things that I'm like, oh, how far do we go into this?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like so I mean, I'm still getting a feel for all this stuff. I feel a little awkward, but that's okay. I mean, this is the beginning stages, and I really think
we're learning.
It's good. It's good to do this, because the more we do it, the more purpose we'll find within all this shit. So
yeah, keep it as simple as possible and keep it as fun as possible, and I don't think you can ever really go wrong. So we hope you guys had as much fun as we do doing this, and we'll be back next week. And if you would like to follow these dudes, I've got them linked in the description on where you can follow them if you don't already, which if you don't already follow them, I mean, my God, I don't know what to tell you. And we'll be back. And the way we're going to do this is it's going to be on Thursday nights, right before the music releases every week. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have some artists up here and talking about their music the night it comes out. And so thank you for joining us. And we're gonna really get our shit together. So this is our first try, and we did not prep for this at all, and we're not going to ever prep for this. So we're just going to get better. So we're going to get out there on the field next week, and we're going to play ball, and we're going to do the best we can. So thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, like, and comment. All right, peace. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.